So let's take a look at class example 1, and this is on page 317. So the information that's given to us is that the graph of a quadratic function has a vertex of -2 and 8. So that is your P and your Q value. And it passes through another point, and this could be any point on there, -1 and 7. So because this is nothing special, we'll just call them X and Y because this could be any point. Okay, so let's go through the steps that we were talking about. The first step is to replace your P and Q in your formula here. So we will put the X minus, and remember this is a -2 plus 8. So what does that give us? That gives us y is equal to a x plus 2 squared plus 8. And that makes sense. Remember when we were reading this in class, we talked about how when it says it's a +2, it means the graph goes to the left. So it should be actually going to the left here. So that should be -2. And then it went up 8. So my vertex is here somewhere right here. 5, 6, 7, 8. So here. So it does make sense that it would be -2 and 8, but it would look like it's positive in the equation, right? So when we do substitute, that does actually make sense. So this is my partial equation. That means I have almost everything so far. I just need to find what this a is. So once I find this a, I'll come back to this partial equation and fill that in, and then I'm set. So how will I actually find the rest of it? That's where we do the second part where step comes in. So this was the first step. The second step is to input this point in that partial equation. So my partial equation is here. And for x, I will substitute -1. Okay. And for y, I will substitute 7. So we're going to solve this further. So what does that give me? 7 is equal to a. -1 plus 2 is 1 squared plus 8. So 7 is equal to 1 squared, which is just 1. So that's 1a plus 8. So all we got to do now is to isolate for my a, because we have a linear equation. So remember the steps when we're solving an equation. Analyze what you have. I have a linear equation. All I got to do is isolate for my variable. So move that 8 to the other side. And whether you divide by 1, it won't really make a difference, but we were able to solve for a. So step 1, put your P and Q value, which we did. Step 2, find another point, any point, and that was given to us, -1 and 7. Put that in, and we were able to solve for a. The third step now is to use your partial equation and the a value together. So remember, the only thing I said I was missing was the a value. And now I have my equation. Don't put the x and y back in there because that was not anything specific. We could have used any points of x and y, right? There are lots of x and y's that will work here. So only use your PQ value. That's a definite point, and the a point. Those are the only two things that you should be including in your actual equation. So it will be -1, x plus 2 squared plus 8 becomes my actual equation. You can actually graph this equation, and it will give you your equation here, your graph in here. You can take a look at what it looks like. So it's going to look somewhat like this, I think. But you can get a much better picture by putting this in your graphing calculator and getting a much accurate picture out of this. Okay? Now, the second part of this question is to rewrite this standard form into the general form. And they tell us the general form is when it's all expanded out. So what we have to do here is we have to take our equation and expand it out. Okay, so and then simplify. So negative 1, x plus 2 times x plus 2 plus 8. This part over here, you need to FOIL it out. Okay, so you can distribute it in. So if I do that, I will get x squared plus 4x plus 4. So I just quickly did that. And then you can do this on the side and bring it in. Now, what's the next step we have to do? So we worked inside the brackets. There's a multiplication outside, so that will get distributed in, which basically will change all the signs to negative. And then we have plus 8 at the end trailing there. Once everything's opened up, the last thing the BEDMAS tells us to do is collect like terms. So in this case, it would be just plus 4. So we were able to change the equation that was in a standard form, which as you guys know I love because it gives us so much information. And then we write it in the general form, which is in the trinomial form that we used to work with earlier. Okay, so it's very simple to change from standard to general. Just open everything up, collect like terms, and then you're done.